Everybody, it's a Mad Master here. This is kind of a sort of halfway through review. I think I'm on episode 7 now of the new Dahmer series on Netflix. Now, if I can find a copy of this book, which I'm not going to look for right now, maybe in an upcoming video. I have a personal connection to Jeffrey Dahmer, by the way. Not only was I called the next Jeffrey Dahmer in algebra class in sophomore year of high school, but I'm related to someone that had a little bit of a cash grab going on with, with Jeffrey Dahmer. I'll just call it a cash grab. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that right now. You can figure it out for yourself if you want to dox me or whatever. It's kind of funny. Very, very minimal thing going on with that, but I'm not going to mention any more in this video. I might do a video about it, like I said. But anyways, so my first thoughts are that it's an American Horror Story mind hunter kind of show with Jeffrey Dahmer, with Evan Peters, of course, playing Jeffrey Dahmer, and come to know that it is kind of some of the same people involved. Now, I like the acting of Evan Peters and the guy who plays Dahmer's father. Molly Ringwald is kind of hot as his stepmom. I don't know why, but she has this kind of vibe I like. I always like Molly Ringwald, though. She's a redhead, you know, Aquarius and stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just making a joke. But anyways, I love the Aquarius part. This show, you know, it begins pretty good. The first episode's cleverly directed, and it has a lot of suspense and stuff. But you get to the midpoint of, you know, the series, and it kind of dwindles down a little bit. Spoiler alert. Semi-spoiler alert. I think what happens is some of the acting gets a little stifled. Not of Dahmer's father. Evan Peters even is a little bit like... There's a particular episode, it's called Silenced, and it's about a deaf victim of Jeffrey Dahmer. And I thought it was very overrated. I thought it was okay, but first of all, okay, I'm gonna straighten this out. The guy goes, okay, so I live in Wisconsin. Anybody that's watched tons of my videos, as you all want to, and realize it in your mind right now that you want to watch more of my videos, more and more. And as you look back on this conversation, I'm using NLP on you, by the way, neuro-linguistic programming. Anyways, I'm trying to hypnotize you to watch more videos. Anyways. You know, I live in Wisconsin, and they talk about Madison and Milwaukee in this show. Now, I read that it was filmed in LA, and you can kind of tell because, like, Madison and Milwaukee have this vibe. Okay, it's certain vibes that you get from it. So, first of all, you watch the episode about Madison, which is number 6 or 7. I think it's number 6, Silenced. Part of it takes place in Madison, Wisconsin. So, okay, they have this record store and like this music store. And in this episode, you see the street they're on. I'm like, I don't recognize that street at all. It doesn't look like... I think they're trying to do State Street, but they get it wrong. It looks like a small town in Wisconsin that had like a hipster record store. They're playing Jesus and Mary Chain. I guess it was kind of hot at 91 or whatever, but you know, there's kind of alternative kind of record store, which was kind of cool. Actually, I kind of want to go in that record store that's in the show. But and then they have this music store and this other place, this like photo place. And just the way the streets look, it's nothing like Madison. It doesn't even, just the way they filmed it. Now, Milwaukee's even worse, because Milwaukee has very run down in the places where Dahmer was at least, you know, very run down. Not as much as like Rockford, Illinois, because like that's a very run down post, was it? I'm trying to think of the word, but like post Rust Belt kind of vibe to it. And LA definitely doesn't have this sunny. I think I even saw like a tropical tree in one of the episodes about Madison. I'm like, oh, I wish outside my window there. I'm doxing myself now. I don't give a shit. So a little what's his name? That little troll probably doesn't like it. But you know, a little troll fuck that was making fun of my teeth or whatever. Anyways, you know, or my head, or I don't even know what he was making fun of. Anyways, which I was proving, even though he called me a libertarian far rightist for my CV stuff, you know, turns out a lot of the predictions and stuff were correct about a lot of what would happen and what was happening. So fuck you, anyways. I know certain relatives are like, why would you swear so much? And then certain other relatives are like, I don't understand your videos. I'm a boomer and I'm stupid. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm just pissed off sometimes. So I just get it out. This is a catharsis for me, by the way. I don't think they're stupid, by the way, people that don't understand. They just don't understand. They have no concept of YouTube or what it means to go on rants and stuff. So, whatever. They're stuck in their era of Mitch Ryder and Detroit wheels or whatever, you know. Anyways, I'm going to shut up about that. What was I saying? So, yeah, these vibes that they're in this Dahmer show. I like it. You know, overall, I like the show because I like Evan Peters. That's why I watched it, was because of Evan Peters. I was like, a Dahmer show, that's lame. Another Dahmer. Oh, Netflix, even worse. It'll be all woke and shit, but like stupid and have this formulaic kind of thing to it. Well, it turns out Evan Peters is doing it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to watch that. So I did watch it. And the first few episodes are great. First 3 or 4 episodes. 5th episode's kind of floundering a little bit, and then the 6th episode. And I understand they wanted to do like a sympathetic portrayal of the guy that died, but like another like sticking point that I have, so to speak. I don't know if he sticking point, get it? You know, I don't know. Another sticking point I have about the show is they use modern slang. Like they say, "Give me the deets," or "He's so basic." Like, okay, I grew up on the East Side. There were POCs all over, you know, in high school and middle school and stuff. I don't want to clump people in a category. You know, there were people of different cultures and races and stuff. I never heard deets. Like, and some of it might be, what I'm trying to say is some of it might be derived from Ebonics. I never heard deets, and I never heard basic up until like 5 years ago. I grew up in this fucking, in these, you know, places, and I heard all sorts of stuff. I never heard those terms. But yet, twice in this episode, silenced, you hear modern slang, okay? Modern, they talk about baby face and, you know, 90s fucking, you know, playing 90s music, which some of the music they probably wouldn't play. It was like a little too edgy. Like it seemed like the producer was like, well, we should put that song in there. We got the rights to it. You know? But some of it's kind of, and that really bothers me. And then, insult to injury, you have these cops, these Milwaukee cops, like, and some of the characters. Molly Ringwald isn't so great with this either, I'll just must admit. The Dahmer's fathers, whoever plays him, he had a good fucking dialect coach, okay? And even Evan Peters slips a little bit once in a while, too. They sound like some weird, like, Michigan meets Newfoundland meets Scotland, like, accent. Like, trying to approximate the Milwaukee, Chicago, Midwestern accent. I mean, obviously I have a little bit of it because I fucking live in Wisconsin, but, like... like sometimes, oh, yeah, laddie, young laddie. It's like, dude, you're not from fucking Scotland. It's not Scotland. They don't have like, you're not in fucking like Ireland or Scotland. Okay, dude, get a better dialect coach in LA. I'm sure you can call if they're not doing all Zoom by now or whatever. a little dig at that. Get a better dialect coach. You know, and just the slickness of it, you know. Dahmer's apartment, if you take pictures of it, if you see pictures of it, It has these white walls, you know, kind of like this. The lights are all like kind of, you know, like have that fluorescent vibe, you know, when it's on. But it's this dimly lit, like beautiful lens, and like it looks like a really nice apartment, even though it's like in a shithole, like ghetto kind of place. And whatever, I forgot the apartment names, but even his neighbor has a pretty, I mean, it's a small apartment, but it just, the way it was filmed was way too slick. Like, they got the setup right because they have the couch and they have the plant and the pictures and like the fish tank. You know, if you look at the pictures of Dahmer's apartment, it's set up exactly correctly in the show. But it's just some of the filming, it just was too soft. Like, I'll give you an example. So I'll give you not an example, but like a good, like, perspective on this. After season 5 of the X-Files, they went from filming in Vancouver, Washington, or not Vancouver, Washington, Vancouver, British Columbia, to LA. And immediately there was a tonal shift in the show. And it's very subtle. Now, I don't think this was on purpose in the plot, in the script writing. I don't think this was necessarily like a contrived thing that they thought of. But it has a sunnier vibe, this brighter tonal structure when you're watching the show. It's like, because I don't remember exactly where it takes. I think it takes place on the East Coast, honestly, because they're in the FBI, for Christ's sake. But you know, it just doesn't work as well when you're talking about all this dark alien shit when it's sunny all the time in this like tropical, semi-tropical place. So you watch that show and you're like, yeah, see, after season 5 they went downhill. And that was one of the reasons, because of filming in those shows that film in Vancouver. I'm just going to say, filming darker shows in a darker climate, or, you know, more overcast place, Supernatural included, X-Files, Millennium, it gives it a vibe that is not there with other, you know, if you film somewhere else. So filming this in California when it takes place in Wisconsin, the Dahmer show was a mistake. I think that was a big mistake because it doesn't have that vibe. Like, you go to Milwaukee, Ambassador Hotel. You know, one of his murders took place in Ambassador Motel. I remember going to Milwaukee Metal Fest in like, I think it was like 98 or 99. And I went for a walk from Metal Fest. It was at the Rave Eagles Ballroom in Milwaukee. And that's like across the street, Ambassador Hotel. I went in there. Grimy, kind of rundown place. You know, I had the Art Deco and all that shit. I believe that's where the Ambassador Hotel is, as far as I remember. And you see it in the movie, or in the show, Dahmer. It's like this beautiful, elegant place, brightly lit in the, you know, it's just like, and it was probably some place in LA, some bougie place that they filmed it at. And they got the floor pattern right, but everything else was shit. So you watch these things. I think there should be a genuine realness to the proceedings when you're filming real life stuff that happened. I think you want to get it. In my opinion, you should get unless you're doing some kind of formalistic, fantasized version of something. You should try to get as close as possible to the real vibe of a show, a grittier vibe. Like, you know, take Law and Order. All the Law and Order Dick Wolf shows, they're all filmed in New York. And you watch them, you're like, yeah, this has this vibe because it's in New York. You see the real buildings. You see it takes place in New York, and it is in New York. Why the hell didn't they do that for Dahmer? I mean, Milwaukee needs the tax money, and they think about it. And it's so like bourgeois, dare I say, you know, it's so bougie. Though we're going to film a show about Dahmer, but we're going to do it in like high-class LA when Milwaukee's just too run down for our esteemed colleagues to go to. It's like, you could have fucking boosted Milwaukee. Now, there could have been protests because some of the people are calling out this show, like who are, you know, relatives of the victims. And understandably so. But, you know, it could have been more genuine. There's a movie I saw recently, and I can't remember the name, but it was a vampire movie that took place in New York. And it was like, I thought that director should have done done like he did a Frankenstein movie too. God damn it, he's missing teeth like this director. Fuck, what is his name? I watched so many movies I can't even remember all of it. You know, I watch like at least like 5 or 6 movies a month, so I mean I can't remember all of them. I've been doing. I mean, I used to watch like 3 or 4 a week back when I was hanging out with certain people and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's just like you have to have that grittiness there. You know, Milwaukee is a gritty fucking place if you've been there, especially the parts of town that Dahmer was in. Run down. It's part of that, you know, Rust Belt, the former Rust Belt. That's why it is like Rockford or, you know, Milwaukee, Gary, Indiana. All those places are part of that former Rust Belt. All these old decrepit buildings. And this Dahmer show just doesn't have that. You know, they should have done it. I keep, anyways, I'm gonna stop doing that. But I swore I would in a previous video. But yeah, I mean, I just did it again. I'm gonna knock my knee. Yeah, yeah, it's just so stupid. So I think they need to do this. They need to do things right for a change. These Hollywood fucking hacks, you know. I mean, I'm not saying Ryan Murphy is a hack, but it's just like, I wish they would just do some, you know, more stuff that was more genuine. You know, it's like, why do all this stuff? It's almost like, you know, Tim Burton. Tim Burton does all these movies and stuff, but at least you know that he's going to make things like highly formalized in this way that Tim Burton does. You know, if he takes the source material and does something with that. But like these shows, you know, well, I guess it is kind of an American Horror Story Dahmer in essence, because you see the trappings of American Horror Story, the dreamy kind of sequences and the dim lighting and all that stuff. I mean, I had to turn up the brightness on my Mac to fucking watch this show, you know. My MacBook. Ooh, I'm so bougie. I have a Mac. Yeah, I actually have a couple of Macs, but they're really old Macs, so I don't feel as guilty, you know. But anyways, do I recommend the Dahmer show? I'd say that I do, actually. I do recommend watching it. I don't think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread or butter or whatever, but like, you know, I do like it. I think it's good, and I'll watch it till the end. I just think, and it's some of the political stuff they're getting into, you know, I think they could have been a little more, just had a little bit more like nuance to it and edge to it, like in this certain way. Like it's kind of, I'm not going to say the W word. It's not, I wouldn't say it's woke, but like it plays around with a little bit of that. I'll admit that's not a bad thing for the show, because as we know, a lot of the reasons why, I don't know if the book that was written by a certain relative goes into this or not. I can't remember. Which I may actually talk about on this channel one day. But we know that, you know, like homophobia and racism did have a role to play in not, you know, catching Dahmer before they did. We definitely know that, as woke as that sounds, you know. Now, having a guy play this half-assed version of Jesse Jackson in the show, well, not half-assed, but like, I don't know. I've seen better impressions. Okay, I'll be honest. I've seen better impressions, like even by like the old show In Living Color, you know, of Jesse Jackson, like better acting of Jesse Jackson. It doesn't seem like Jesse Jackson when you're watching him. It's another complaint about the accent, because Chicago, just like Milwaukee, have their different they have different accents. Like you know, someone who's black from Milwaukee and Chicago, they have different accents. Someone who's white from Madison versus Milwaukee versus Chicago has 3 different accents, because there is variance in accents. So the way that they do Jesse Jackson's accent was just like, no. He had a way stronger accent. Maybe the guy was lazy. He's like, I'm not going to do a super deep Jesse Jackson impression because it'll verge on self-parody. But Evan Peters does a pretty good job for the most part. I mean, he does go over the top with the Wisconsin shit, you know, once in a while. Not in the early episodes, though. I noticed that he got worse. Like, some of it got worse later in the season, or whatever you want to call it. It like got more hackneyed. I mean, there's one thing that I should say is that episode 6. The reason why I don't like episode 6 is because it almost presents this like romanticized, like it's like this directionless, romanticized like vision of what Dahmer could have been or whatever, in as this like regular, everyday gay man. Like I don't know if that's what they're trying to say with it. It's like you don't know what they're trying to do with that episode. Like I think it was called Deaf Tony. I don't know if they're trying to like honor his life or make Dahmer. I liked the episode about the neighbor way more, which is I think episode 7, because I thought it was pretty funny when he brought the sandwich. I mean, that's a classic scene, you know, one of those things. Why don't you eat the sandwich? You know, obviously the sandwich might be human flesh, but you know, I mean, I liked that episode a lot more. Even with the bad Jesse Jackson actor, you know, I mean, he's not a bad actor, but the bad performance as Jesse Jackson in some ways, because I actually have relatives that used to actually work with Jesse Jackson and know, you know, I never met him, but you know, they kind of they worked for some organizations that he ran and shit. And it's kind of funny that I mentioned this. I'm not doxing anybody, because this is like old school 70s Chicago liberal bullshit that I'm mentioning, but you know, it's kind of funny. What the hell is that? Okay, but yeah, it's overall I'd give it a good review. Now I'm going way too long, but you know, I think there has problems. Like with anything, there's nothing perfect in art or music or film or TV, except for This Is Spinal Tap, the original. This Is Spinal Tap. There's nothing better. Seriously, that's my favorite movie of all time. I mean, for the art and for the creativity and perspective that went into that movie, because they really knew what they're talking about. And they even stuff in Spinal Tap today, there's stuff with rock and metal and bands that didn't happen before Spinal Tap that are like Spinal Tap unintentionally. I mean, there's stuff. It's an eternal movie. It's one of the greatest movies of all time, in my opinion. It is the greatest movie of all time. Is This Is Spinal Tap? In my opinion, that's just my opinion. Citizen Kane, you know, and all these highly rated movies aren't even. I don't think they're anywhere near the genius of Spinal Tap. And it's not just as a comedy, just as a performance, like performance art, improvisation. Just I see the art in there. So, anyways, yeah, Dahmer's okay. You know, the monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. That's what it's called on Netflix. It's okay. I'd give it like maybe 2.5, 3 stars out of 5. First episode, I give 4 or 5 stars. It was great. First through third episode, I'd say it veers in some weird territory for a while, and I just don't like that the silenced episode. Just not only because of the bad accents, not only because of the bad portrayal of Wisconsin, but because it's kind of directionless. That's about all.